She testified that she witnessed Diddy beat Cassie and that he threatened her if she spoke out.
You know, Usher was the one who was with Justin Bieber and, you know, allegedly handed Justin Bieber off to Diddy.
Usher and Dawn Richard have never co-shared a stage like 2 weeks ago during the trial brought one of the most surprising partnerships yet. But what do they know that has Diddy running for cover? Tune in as we expose the secrets around their explosive testimony and why this partnership may be the gamaker nobody anticipated.
You already mentioned the second witness today, Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Carrie Morgan. What did Carrie have to say?
So let me tell you, Carrie Morgan is crucial, and she came crucial because she comes off as credible. Because one of the first statements that she made is that she came here because she was compelled to testify. She no longer speaks to Cassie Ventura. They stopped talking in 2018 after this incident having to deal with where she was assaulted by Sean Combs, where Sean Combs grabbed her by the neck and also threw a wooden hanger at her, but also that it led to Cassie giving her $30,000 so she wouldn't say anything about that specific incident, and that was the end of their relationship. She also corroborated 2 of the assaults that took place, having to deal with Cassie in terms of her being drugged and as well as her being punched. So she corroborated a lot of the testimony, but she came off as a neutral witness, and the defense wasn't able to break her as they wanted to, but was able to say that, look, it was still a loving relationship.
Usher and Dawn Richard joining forces for this trial. It's like viewing 2 parallel universes crashing into each other, and no one foresaw it for years. Their mutual connection was Diddy, the man who bound them both to some of their greatest professional achievements and personal struggles. But observing how their lives have intersected now, it's impossible not to question what last drew them out of the darkness to face off against him. This union didn't rile up courtrooms alone, it resonated throughout headlines, social media, and the whole entertainment community, leaving everyone wondering why. Now, to grasp why this surprise collaboration is so explosive, let's look closely at their backgrounds. Usher was essentially shaped by Diddy in the beginning of his career, long before Usher became a household name. He was the young prodigy living under Diddy's wing. The tales from back then are legendary accounts of outlandish parties, bizarre mentorship techniques, and an insider's glimpse into a world that most could only dream about. Though Usher's career took off shortly thereafter, he's always appeared cautious about confronting those early years. It's obvious that what transpired left an enduring mark, but he's hardly ever discussed his time with Diddy so publicly or incriminatingly until today. Dawn Richard's relationship to Diddy rests on a different branch of the same tree. As part of Danny Kane, a group formed under Diddy's Bad Boy umbrella.
You know, Usher was the one who was with Justin Bieber and, you know, allegedly handed Justin Bieber off to Diddy. I believe we're starting to hit that corner now where a lot of names are going to start coming out. And when I've talked about in previous videos about a lot of people being quiet, I'm wondering if they don't want to say nothing. I wonder how many people are being subpoenaed. You know, how many people are going to testify? I don't know. But his name has been brought up. Let me just ask y'all this. If you guys were in this situation, and let's just say you were Usher, and you saw Diddy do that to Cassie, what would you do? I just want to know, what would y'all do? Y'all can comment below. Would you intervene? Or if you didn't intervene, would you be like, you know what? I can't be around this dude no more. So, you know, Dawn, she filed a lawsuit against Diddy in 2024, alleging the music mogul did stuff to her, ethically and verbally. Yeah, she also says she witnessed what he did to Cassie with the eggs. We know all this stuff, and how he said people careers will be ended if they try to talk and all that. So Dawn, the Danny Kane member who was you know, accusing Diddy of what he did, says she witnessed him allegedly do things to Cassie his ex-girlfriend, while other celebrities, including Usher, were present. Dawn appeared in court Friday, May 16th. She took the seat again on Monday, alleging Combs did things to Ventura at a restaurant in 2010. So again, if that happened in 2010, I'm just wondering how many times since have Usher and Diddy been hanging out and chilling with each other.
She had a front row view of his management style, long criticized for being aggressive, controlling, and in some cases downright crazy. During the peak of Danny Kane, the group wasn't merely breaking records, they were trapped in a maelstrom of drama, a great deal of it famously centered around their boss. When the group dissolved, rumors flew of toxic working conditions and behind-the-scenes manipulation. Dawn, like Usher, remained relatively quiet until recently, but the timing of her alliance with Usher indicates her silence was perhaps a matter of waiting for the right moment. This trial has apparently provided that moment. Insider sources point to the prosecution as masterminding this union, a power play meant to bolster their claims against Diddy. By aligning two figures with first-hand knowledge of life under his tutelage, prosecutors know the advantage they possess here. Usher and Dawn don't merely know the same person, they know two entirely different faces of him. Usher embodies the flashy, larger-than-a-life public figure many saw in the early days, while Dawn's telling delves into the meticulous, often brutal business side of Diddy's empire. Together, their knowledge paints a three-dimensional picture, and that is what makes this partnership so powerful. Let's not also forget the long-standing rumors that have dogged Diddy throughout his career, ranging from whispers of dirty deals to accusations regarding his infamous parties. His name has been attached to enough scandals to fill a 100 tabloid headlines. What's new now is that Usher and Dawn could each turn these rumors into something decidedly more concrete. Why? Because when allegations are connected to real-life events, instead of hearsay, they land harder. Usher, supposedly having witnessed certain behaviors during those early years, lends weight to speculation, which has been floating around for decades. In the meantime, Dawn's potential testimony draws from an altogether different era, one where she professes to have been directly impacted by Diddy's decisions as a manager.
However, I wouldn't be surprised if there is conversation about trauma and the effects on the brain as we go through this trial. That may be something that they address then. But for now, this is where we are with Dawn. And it continued. There were a few other criticisms of her that Dawn confirmed that she was asked to, she asked Diddy to sign her as a solo artist in 2011, which would have been at the end of her time with Diddy Dirty Money, and Diddy denied her. She also said she was asked to work with Combs that she asked to work with Combs as recently as 2020 or 2021. So it's interesting that it's like she didn't want to work with him, but she was willing and asking to go back. And she does explain that in a little bit more detail as we keep going. So the defense asked Dawn to admit that she filed the lawsuit, her civil lawsuit against Combs, to get a lot of money. And Dawn said no, but she wants to be compensated for the work that she put forth. Can't argue that.
No.
So the redirect then happened, and Dawn explained why her accounts over time may have missed some details. She said, every day it gets easier to remember certain things. I try my best to do it to the best of my ability. She also explained that when she reached out to Diddy after leaving Bad Boy, it was to rekindle a relationship with choreographer Lorianne Gibson, who Dawn said had advised her to reach out to Combs first. And as for Dawn reaching out to Combs to reunite Diddy Dirty Money, she said she did so to help a friend, which was the former bandmate Kalena Harper, who Richard suggested was having a hard time.
But why are they coming forward now after so many years of relative quiet? The timing, as always, is everything. Some think that the momentum of high-profile accountability cases within the entertainment industry has had something to do with it, with a swell of movements demanding transparency and justice. Celebrities who previously lived in fear of speaking out now find themselves an opportunity to reframe narratives. Both Usher and Dawn may feel like they're no longer alone in this fight on a more intimate level. However, their choice could represent a breaking point. Something within this trial had pushed them to finally cry enough is enough. Their alliance isn't merely surprising to the public, it's causing shockwaves throughout the entertainment industry. Fans and industry personnel are frantically trying to guess at what secrets this union will reveal. Usher's involvement provides possible insight into Diddy's personal life within a pivotal moment of his ascension to fame, and Dawn possesses firsthand knowledge of how he constructed and sustained his empire. Together, they bridge two different eras in Diddy's life, which makes their combined testimonies impossible to ignore. People are saying that this could be the one-two punch that shakes the power structures Diddy has banked upon for years. Each of them brings something crucial to the table. Usher, with his validity and decades of silence, could pull the curtains back on certain behaviors that have only been alluded to until now. Meanwhile, Dawn's choice to come forward after her time under Diddy's label could strengthen the narrative of a pattern, proposing that his claimed misconduct wasn't an isolated occurrence, but a recurring part of the atmosphere he fostered. Together, they're building a narrative that feels deeply personal, yet somehow remarkably calculated. It's not merely a coincidence that these two have partnered up strategically. Bringing their stories together has the ability to leave the defense with no wiggle room, especially when the prosecution weaves their testimony into an airtight narrative. Legal experts are already dubbing this alliance a game-changer, one that could largely swing the balance. And for Diddy, the price couldn't be higher if their stories match up and uncover patterns of manipulation, exploitation, or misconduct. It creates a narrative that even the most sophisticated defense teams would have trouble untangling in front of a jury. But what makes this so much more fascinating is Dawn Richard's involvement, particularly as someone who worked intimately with Diddy during the peak of Danny Kane's success. She has hands-on knowledge of the way that he functioned within the industry. Her take could unveil the kind of systemic problems that branch out beyond Diddy himself, things that touch on deeper issues within the music world at large. And based upon rumors emanating from the trial, what she intends to expose next may not simply.
Now, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about her too as time goes on.
Yeah, well, Emily, I was watching her stories today and she brought this up. I don't know if you saw this, but yeah. Kalina had made a public statement in September 2024, basically denying all of Dawn's sort of stuff, the lawsuit, saying it wasn't true, and put this all out there. I acknowledged which my name was mentioned 33 times, let off in the stories post. While I fully respect Dawn's right to recount her experience, I want to emphasize her account reflects her personal perspective and should not be interpreted as a universal truth applicable to everyone involved. So she denied claims that she made, but then what was interesting, as the Fed stepped in, Kim, filings from the Feds showed that it seems Kalina's statement was just a PR stunt orchestrated and funded by Diddy. Outlet reports that Combs contacted Harper increased the days between Dawn's lawsuit and Kalina making her statements. Officials stated that Harper and Combs allegedly made 128 calls during this period. The authorities claim that between the note found in Diddy's cell and the phone calls to Harper, they believe Sean Combs paid Kalina for her public statement to discredit Dawn Richard, which is insane, but not surprising at all, right, Kim?
Yep, and it actually goes deeper than that. I actually just sent you a quick link just to a Vibe article just to confirm its existence. Kalina did a really uncomfortable interview last year. It was long, and there was she said a lot of not nice things about people involved in the situation. I found she was very almost infantilizing when it came to Cassie at points. And I remember there being a lot of dialogue at that time of like, oh, someone got paid. Someone got paid to sit down and do this. I can't say that as a fact, but it is very interesting to hear the two perspectives. I did not find her to be very credible. I was nowhere near the only one who felt that way.
Dawn Richard's decision to take the stand has sent shockwaves through the whole trial, and it's easy to see why. As a former member of Danny Kane, a group carefully built under Diddy's Bad Boy Records, Dawn isn't simply someone who worked with him. She was part of the world. He controlled a world that may now come apart at the seams under her revelations. The question on everyone's lips is, what does she know, and how hurtful could it possibly be? Sources close to the case indicate her testimony may not simply scratch the surface, it could assault the very base of Diddy's empire, providing a raw, unfiltered glimpse of his leadership dynamics and personal behavior at the time. For years, Dawn has kept quiet about her time in Danny Kane, but it's no secret that the group's rise to stardom wasn't without controversy. Back in the mid-2000s, Danny Kane was Diddy's golden boy, making the band reality show on screen. It was all dreams, ambition. and the ruthless music industry. What the cameras didn't capture, however, was the rumored poisonous atmosphere behind the scenes. There were tales of mayhem, from arguments to claims of mind games, and an unyielding pressure that allegedly drove some of the group members to the brink of their breaking points. While Dawn hardly touched on it at the time, her appearance at this trial indicates that there's more to those rumors, and now she's finally prepared to tell her story. One specific area of Dawn's testimony could revolve around charges of manipulation during Danny Kane's height. Legal sources believe she has proof that may indicate a practice of exploitation, not merely with her group, but throughout Diddy's wider business dealings. There are whispers that Dawn will detail specific moments where she says Diddy's behavior crossed into abuse, instances where his need to dominate seemed to supplant everything else. For instance, how many times have we heard about contracts thought to be intentionally confusing or modeled in a manner that left artists shortchanged? Dawn's own accounts might finally lift the lid on what it was truly like for young artists working in Diddy's world.
The alleged incident took place in a room at the restaurant where Combs and Ventura were arguing quietly. Oh, that's like, those be the ones when he's like that aggressive whisper argue. I told your ass, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. When he in the stomach, she immediately bent over. Combs told her to leave. Dawn testified. No one intervened. Among those allegedly present at the dinner were Usher, Neo, and Jimmy Levine, and other celebrities that Richard could not recall on the witness stand. People has reached out to Usher's team for comments. So, let me see. After they left the restaurant, Dawn was in the car with the couple when Ventura said she was embarrassed and told Combs he shouldn't have acted in that manner in public. He grabbed her and yeah, I can't even say what he did. All these things he did to her. He would tell her he owed her. Richard added, Richard added, I told her he should leave. Cass looked torn. She would listen, but I could see the fear. Man.
But why would she stay silent for so long and decide to speak out now? Many believe Dawn's burden wasn't just professional, it was personal. In interviews throughout the years, she's hinted at the emotional toll of being in such a high-pressure group under Diddy's watchful eye. When the music stopped and Danny Kane disbanded, she faced backlash from fans, some of whom accused her of being complicit in the group's collapse, all while dealing with the aftermath of what she described as a highly stressful work environment. This trial could be Dawn's opportunity to undo years of silence, reclaim her voice, and set the record straight, not only for herself, but for others who might have faced similar conditions. Her testimony could also strike a direct blow to Diddy's carefully constructed public image. For decades, Diddy has walked the line between mogul and entertainer, a charismatic, larger-than-a-life figure who always seemed untouchable. But Dawn's perspective threatens to challenge the very persona he's built. Think about it, she's not just another outsider watching the empire from a distance. She was there at its height, part of the machinery. If she provides evidence of controlling practices or abusive behavior, it won't just shatter the illusion of Diddy the mentor, it could highlight a recurring pattern in his treatment of those who trusted him. And it's not just the courtroom that will feel the buzz. The emotional weight of what Dawn shares could resonate far beyond those walls. Dawn isn't simply recounting stories. She's revisiting a time in her own life, marked by what she's hinted were deeply troubling moments. Imagine sitting in front of a jury recounting decisions you made when you were younger, perhaps out of fear or desperation, against someone so powerful. The vulnerability in those stories has the potential to connect with not just legal professionals, but everyday people on an emotional level. It's the kind of testimony that can sway hearts and minds, especially if jurors see Dawn as someone who's finally breaking free from years of silence. And let's not forget the specific examples she might bring to the table. Remember the bruising public breakup of Danny Kane rumors at the time suggested that Diddy's heavy-handed approach to managing the group was a driving force behind it. Dawn could confirm or even expand on these suspicions with concrete stories about what artists like her truly faced under his leadership. There's talk that she may describe psychological games used to pit members against each other, creating a competitive atmosphere designed to keep control firmly in Diddy's hands. If these allegations hold up, they could not only strengthen her credibility, but also paint a chilling picture of how systemic dysfunction was baked into the dynamic. Her willingness to speak up at this particular moment positions her testimony as more than just one story in the trial. It could have ripple effects throughout the music industry. Artists signed to major labels have long voiced concerns about manipulative contracts and exploitative behaviors, but it's rare for someone on Dawn's level to be so blunt and honest. If her allegations match up with Usher's on specific incidents, it could create a through theme showing that these complaints weren't isolated. In fact, it might encourage other artists, those still afraid of speaking out, to feel empowered to come forward with their own experiences. This is why the alliance between her and Usher works so well strategically. Her focus on the business side, on the environment Diddy curated for his artists, contrasts perfectly with Usher's insights, which appear to be more centered on personal experiences during his formative years together. They complement each other's perspectives, offering a layered narrative that seems harder and harder for the defense to dispute. But as impactful as Dawn's revelations are, the question now is what kind of details is Usher about to unleash? He's remained largely quiet about his time with Diddy over the years, despite the rumors swirling around his early career. If Dawn's testimony was tilted toward the gritty realities of the industry, Usher's could take us behind the velvet ropes of Diddy's private life. Everyone's waiting to hear what he's holding back, and if it's as explosive as people are speculating. This trial is only just getting started. Usher's involvement in this trial has been one of the most talked about twists so far. His history with Diddy isn't just professional, it's deeply personal. And that's what makes his testimony so powerful. Back in the 90s, when Usher was still a teenager trying to find his way in the industry, he was under Diddy's wing. Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he exposed him to a lifestyle that was equal parts glamorous and controversial, a world of late-night clubs, high-profile parties, and behind-the-scenes chaos that went far beyond what most industry newcomers ever see. For years, there's been speculation about exactly what Usher witnessed during those formative years. And now his testimony is finally bringing some of those whispers into the light. The rumors surrounding Diddy's infamous parties have been the subject of gossip for decades. These weren't ordinary industry meetups. They've been described as wild, no-limits gatherings with A-list celebrities and an anything-goes vibe. Usher was allegedly present at many of these events, and his first-hand knowledge of that world could be one of the most explosive elements of this trial. Insiders suspect that Usher's testimony might touch on behaviors and incidents that go far beyond the veil of partying. Could these stories reveal a darker side to Diddy's persona? Legal analysts believe that's exactly the angle the prosecution hopes to explore, using Usher's credibility to shed light on allegations that have long been kept in the shadows. What makes Usher such an important witness isn't just his connection to Diddy, it's how the public views him. Usher has been in the spotlight for nearly 3 decades, and throughout